the ranking member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and I'm here with another Take 5 with T&I, this time with Greg Regan, who's the head of the Transportation Trades Department at the AFL-CIO, and he's here today. He's going to testify on rail safety and rail in the supply chain. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you're here today to testify?
Sure. Well, railroads, freight rail, and freight rail workers are the backbone of our economy. They move 40% of all large cargo over land, and a third of exports get moved over freight rail. So this is a vital industry for everybody involved.
And we're going to hear a lot about that today when we talk about supply chains, the importance of supply chains. But this is a hearing today about supply chains, but in a sense it's about rail safety, right? You can't have a functioning rail supply chain if the railroads aren't safe.
That is 100% right, and we are not, the goods, if there's a derailment, if there's a problem, that good does not reach its marketplace. So it's a problem for our economy, it's a problem for the communities through which these railroads operate, and it's a problem for workers who are on the front lines doing this work.
Well, let's get to this 5 big questions. Who in the rail workforce do you represent at Transportation Trades?
I'm lucky enough to represent all of them, from the people who drive the trains themselves, the people who maintain the tracks, and the people who do all the dispatching work and the signal work.
That's great, and some of those folks live in my district as well. You mentioned this a little bit. Talk a little bit more about freight rail and its importance to the economy.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it is sort of the silent economic giant that a lot of people sort of forget about, because it does do generally a pretty good job of moving goods around the country. But so many of the things we rely on in our day-to-day lives, including food goods, agricultural goods, energy, chemical companies that keep our water safe, they move on freight rail.
So a lot of things move on rail around the country. The Senate passed a rail safety bill a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, but explain to us why rail safety is important and why Congress needs to act.
Again, these workers put their lives on the line every single day. These are not easy jobs, they're not always the safest jobs, but we have a responsibility as policymakers to ensure that it is as safe as possible. And beyond that, these move through almost every single community in our country. And so when something happens like it did in East Palestine, and there's hazardous chemicals on board, that can affect everybody in that community. So we need to do everything we can to keep it as safe as possible.
Yeah, I've had derailments in my own district in the past. I know how important it is. Freight rail and Amtrak often share tracks. What's the farthest you've traveled on Amtrak, if you in fact have traveled on Amtrak?
I've only gone from DC to Boston, but my parents once did a trip from Rochester, New York to Austin, Texas. So they've done the long haul once.
How many transfers is that?
I think it's only a couple, actually. They got some long lines there, yeah.
That's great. Well, I've traveled to an entirely different country on Amtrak.
Oh, Canada?
Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia. 5 miles across the border, yeah. So the bipartisan infrastructure law is getting implemented, the money's getting out the door. What are you looking forward to most in the BIL?
I'm looking forward to putting people to work, first and foremost, but also I want to make sure that everyday Americans see the impact that good, sound government policy will have on their communities.
Go ahead. It's all one take. We're going to keep rolling.
And no, but this is going to show that government can work and they can deliver for constituents, that we're going to have better roads, better bridges, better transit systems, and we'll finally see all that hard work that you all put into it be delivered out to people in this country.
Well, I'm going to have one last question. True or false, transportation investment equals jobs?
100% true.
Oh my God, you are so smart. Smartest guy in the world. Smartest guy in the world. Well, that's Take 5 with T&I. I'm Congressman Rick Larson with our guest today, Greg Regan from the Transportation Trades Department of the AFL-CIO. Thanks a lot.